There's a drug almost everyone you know is on right now. It's legal. It's free. It's sitting in your pocket, or maybe in your hand as you watch this. And it's quietly changing what your brain thinks is worth doing. I'm on it too, by the way. So let's actually talk about it. You already know what I'm talking about. It's the phone. Or more exactly, it's the endless little hits we pull out of it all day without even deciding to. The scroll. The notification. The quick check that turns into 40 minutes. That thing you do the second there's a gap in a line at a red light, in the 3 seconds it takes a page to load. You don't even choose it anymore. Your hand just goes. And I want to be clear right away. This isn't going to be one of those videos where some guy who's clearly still on his phone lectures you about being on yours. I'm in this with you. I do all of it. This is more like two people who both have the same problem sitting down and one of them going, "Hey, have you noticed this is kind of getting out of hand?" Before anything else, I need to say this, because most videos on this skip it and it makes them useless. This is not a willpower problem. It's really not. And every time someone tells you it is, they're quietly letting the actual cause off the hook. Because on the other side of that screen are some of the smartest people alive, backed by some of the richest companies that have ever existed, and their entire job, all day, is to keep you looking. That's not a conspiracy, it's just their business. They test everything. The colours, the sounds, the exact timing of when you get the little hit, the way it pulls down and refreshes like a slot machine, because it works like a slot machine. Thousands of people with degrees, engineering something to beat your self-control. So when you lose that fight, you're not weak. You're a normal person going up against the most advanced attention machine ever built, using nothing but good intentions. Of course you lose. Everyone loses. I lose. That's the design working exactly as intended. I just don't want you carrying shame about it, because the shame doesn't help, and it isn't even fair. Okay, so here's the part I actually find fascinating, and it's where most people get the science a bit wrong, so let me try to keep it honest. Everyone loves to say dopamine like it's the villain. It isn't. Dopamine's just a normal thing your brain makes. It's not a poison, you literally need it. It's part of how you get up and do anything at all. So the phone isn't putting a drug in you. Here's the real thing, and it's subtler and honestly worse. Your brain works on comparison. How good something feels isn't a fixed number, it's measured against everything else you've been feeling lately. It's always quietly adjusting the bar. And what the phone does is hand you pleasure that's incredibly cheap and incredibly fast. 100 tiny hits an hour, no effort, no waiting. And your brain, being smart, goes, "Oh, this is the new normal." And it moves the bar up to match. So now the ordinary stuff, the stuff that used to be enough, a walk, a book, a slow conversation, a bit of quiet, all of it drops below the line. It doesn't clear the bar anymore, so it feels flat, boring, not worth it. You haven't lost the ability to enjoy those things. They just can't compete with something engineered to be more stimulating than anything that exists in real life. Real life didn't get worse. The bar got moved. Let me tell you when this actually landed for me, because I ignored it for a long time. I noticed I couldn't watch a film anymore. Just watch it. One screen. I'd have the movie on, and within 10 minutes the phone was in my hand, and I was doing both, and doing neither. 2 screens going, and I couldn't tell you what happened in either. And it wasn't just films. I noticed I couldn't wait for anything without reaching. Couldn't stand in a queue. Couldn't let the kettle boil without pulling something out. There was this low, itchy discomfort any time my brain had nothing coming in, and I'd kill it instantly without even thinking. I'd genuinely forgotten what it felt like to just stand somewhere and be a bit bored. That was the moment it clicked for me. It wasn't that I was addicted to my phone, exactly. It was that I'd lost the ability to be understimulated. And that's a stranger, quieter problem, because you can't even feel it happening. There's no rock bottom. You just slowly become someone who can't sit still in his own head. And that's the part I really want to sit with, because I think it's the actual damage, more than the wasted time. We've made boredom the enemy. We treat it like a small emergency, something to be solved in under a second the moment it appears. And it feels like we're winning, because we never have to feel that itch anymore. But boredom was never the problem. Boredom is where a lot of the good stuff comes from. It's the space where you actually think, where ideas show up, where you get bored enough to finally start something, or notice how you're really feeling, or let your mind wander somewhere useful. Every good idea I've ever had showed up in a gap, a shower, a walk, a long, boring drive. never once while scrolling. So when we fill every single gap, we're not just killing boredom, we're killing the thing on the other side of it. We've gotten so good at never being bored that we've accidentally stopped ever being alone with ourselves. And a person who's never alone with their own thoughts slowly becomes a stranger to themselves. That sounds dramatic, but I mean it plainly. You lose touch with what you actually think because you never give the thoughts any quiet to show up in. We've packed our lives so full of input that there's no room left. Every second accounted for, every gap filled, a constant stream of noise coming in from the moment we wake up to the second we fall asleep, usually with the phone as the last thing we see and the first thing we grab. It's the most cluttered our inner lives have ever been, and we did it to ourselves one gap at a time. Keeping it simple here isn't a productivity trick. It's just deciding, on purpose, to let some of the quiet back in. To leave a gap unfilled now and then. To do one thing at a time and let it be a little boring. Not because boring is virtuous, but because that quiet is where you actually live. It's where you feel things and think things and come back to yourself. A simpler input is how you turn the volume back down enough to hear yourself at all. Now, I don't want to leave you in the doom, because there's a genuinely good bit here. Your brain isn't broken. It's not permanent. That bar I talked about, the one that got moved up so everything normal feels flat, it moves back down. It just needs a bit of time with less. Give it a few days of less constant input and the ordinary stuff starts to taste like something again. Food, a walk, a conversation, a quiet evening. People who step back from it always say the same thing, that colours came back, that they could read again, that things felt real. That's not magic, that's just the bar settling back to where it should have been. So if you've been feeling flat and numb and like nothing's really landing anymore, I want to gently offer you a different explanation than the one you might be carrying. Maybe you're not broken or depressed or past it. Maybe you're just overstimulated and your brain has quietly forgotten what quiet feels like. And that one is fixable, genuinely. Not with some hardcore detox. You don't need to throw your phone in a lake. Just with a little less, a little more often, until real life clears the bar again. I'm not going to hand you a 10-step plan, because you don't need one, and you'd forget it by tomorrow anyway. I'd just say, maybe let yourself be bored once today. On purpose. Stand somewhere and don't reach. It'll feel weirdly uncomfortable, and that discomfort is the whole thing. That's the bar being ridiculous, and sitting in it even for a minute is how it starts to come back down. It was never really the dopamine, and it was never really about willpower. It's just that we found a way to feel good so cheaply and so constantly that real life stopped being able to compete, and slowly the whole ordinary world got turned down to grey. The good news is the world didn't actually go grey. We just moved the dial, and the dial moves back. You don't have to quit anything or throw anything away. You just have to let a little quiet back into a life that got way too loud and give the ordinary things a fair chance to feel like enough again. Because they can. They did before, and nothing's actually broken. The volume just got turned all the way up, and you're allowed to turn it back down. Let yourself be bored once today. See what shows up in the gap. Keep it simple. I'll catch you in the next one.